TV at a desk in a suit. He lies through his teeth and they still call it the news. And there's a man in a white coat whose medicine kills. He loves when you're sick cause you pay for his pills. There's a man at the bank who will give you a loan so that you'll... There's a man who wants you spending your life online. Knows you're searching for truth but controls what you find. We'll be fine, babe, if we don't make it through. There's a man in a church who I really hope told me the truth. Said there's a man in the sky watching over me and you. It don't help if you can fly, 'cause way past the moon. And there's men here on the ground that just wanna burn it down. They want money, they want power, don't want no one else allowed. We'll be fine, babe, I'll be the man for you. There's a man in a court sworn to uphold the law, but he's crooked as a fence post and don't do his job. There's a man in a classroom who should know the facts, but he's brainwashing kids, teaching English and math. There's a man in your phone who hears everything you say. He knows everywhere you go, every joke you ever made. There's a man with a bloodline that owns the whole world. Every airplane and building and gold, brick and pearl. We'll be fine, babe, if we don't make it through. There's a man in a church who I really hope told me the truth. Said there's a man in the sky watching over me and you. It won't help if you can fly, 'cause way past the moon. And there's men here on the ground that just wanna burn it down. They want money, they want power, don't want no one else allowed. We'll be fine, babe, I'll be the man for you. Pray that the man in the sky's watching over us tonight, 'cause there's people looking down on us for fighting for what's right. Hold the line, babe, and I'll hold on to you. There's a man in the clouds and I hope he's looking down, 'cause there's people here on earth who trying to put us in the ground. We'll be fine, babe, I won't let go of you. Said there's a man in the sky watching over me and you. It won't help if you can fly, he's way past the moon. And there's men here on the ground that just wanna burn it down. They want money, they want power, don't want no one else allowed. We'll be fine, babe, I'll be the man for you.
Just got out from the county prison doing 90 days for non-support. Tried to find me an executive position, but no matter how smooth I talk, they wouldn't listen to the fact that I was a genius. The man said we got all that we can use. Now I got them steadily depressing, low down mind messing, working at the car wash blues.
Well, I shouldn't be sitting in a air-conditioned office in a swivel chair, talking some trash to the secretary, saying, "Yeah, partner, come on over here." Instead of stuff, pimp, rubbing these fenders with a rag and walking home inside their old shoes. But with them steadily depressing, low down mind messing, working at the car wash blues.
Ability, he should be smoking on a big cigar.
But till I get myself straight, I guess I'll just have to wait in my rubber suit of rubbing these cars.
Well, all I can do is to shake my head. You might not believe that it's true.
Oh, working at this end on Niagara Falls, there's a undiscovered Howard Hughes. So baby,
don't expect to see me with no double martini and in my highbrow society news. 'Cause I got them steadily depressing, low down mind messing, working at the car wash blues. see me with no double martini and in my highbrow society news. Cause I got them steadily depressing, low down mind messing, working at the car wash blues. Yeah, I got them steadily depressing, low down mind messing, working at the car wash blues.
If you don't join, if you
of all the money there I've had, I spent it in.
You probably thought this deer was alive, and this coyote was alive, and this pheasant was alive. Nope, they're not. They're dead. They've been taxidermized by Chuck Testa. Ojai Valley Taxidermy. I specialize in the most lifelike dead animals anywhere. Period.
Look at that antelope driving a car.
Nope, it's just Chuck Testa.
Oh no, there's a bear in my bed.
Nope, Chuck Testa.
Hold on a second. There's a leopard feeding on an impala out on my deck.
Nope, it's just Chuck Testa with another realistic mount. Shipped to me from anywhere. Call Chuck Testa for the most lifelike dead animals around, period.
Did that rhino just order a drink?
Nope.
Chuck Testa does not taxidermize pets.
System, the company store, the paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers, scum. They're on giant death factories, keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy weird sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Literal vampire pot and the goblins are hobbling round coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap. We don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions upon it, people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet.
Broadcasting live from the Free Speech Studios. Deep within the city of Fountain. With over 4 years of satisfying the curious mind and looking damn sexy while doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, Phantom Fact Society.
Well, it's not a Phantom Fact show unless we let the intro breathe a little bit. Welcome everyone to a special Monday night show with special guests, Mother Goose, Harbinger. You may know him better by on X. Joining us just to chat about his career, his service, and his perception of what he's seen going around in the United States. So without further ado, welcome Mother Goose himself. Welcome to Phantom Fact Society.
Hey, thanks for reaching out.
We appreciate. I'm sure it must have seemed like what the heck's going on when we messaged you, but we appreciate you trusting us and coming on the show and talking to our audience a little bit. So is it okay we call you Richard?
Yeah, that's fine.
Richard, thanks so much for coming on the show. Richard, tell on your X profile, you say you served 7 tours, or was that correct? 7 deployments? Is that how I read it correctly?
Yeah, I was in for almost 24 years and 7 deployments throughout that time.
24 years. So let's start at the very beginning. At what point did you decide I'm going to sign up for the military? And what branch did you choose?
Well, my childhood and like the way I grew up, I mean, I pretty much knew I was going to join the military. My mom and dad were both in the military. That's how they met. And it's a funny story. I didn't know which branch I was going to join, but my senior year in high school, after I had taken the ASVAB test. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't. Is that like
it's the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Test?
Okay, all right.
And you take it. It's like a baseline, just to see like what kind of knowledge you have, and then the military, depending on what branch you are in, they can throw you into a profession, so that it's something that you can learn and do. So anyways, I took the ASVAB test, and everybody is like, in my family is all, you got to join the Air Force. You got to join the Air Force. And I went down, I talked to the Air Force recruiter, and he's like, yeah, you gotta, I scored like a 50 or something on the ASVAB the first time.
Is that good or bad?
That's okay.
Okay.
But I got better. And then, so I talked to the Air Force recruiter. He's like, yeah, you could be a crew chief or this and that. And let's sit down and watch a video. And I'm from Columbus, Georgia. And it'll fill you in on the next part. Maybe. So we're watching this video about life in the Air Force and all this stuff. And I don't think they meant to do it when they made this. They made this video back in the 90s.
Okay.
And we watched the video, and the recruiter said to me, he said, now, what did you notice about that video? I said, well, I mean, they're in boot camp. He's like, no black people. I said, and I just like looked at him, I didn't like, I probably gave him the best poker face I could give him. And he's like, yeah, we get you out of here. We get you up in Minot, North Dakota, and you don't have to see no black people. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like, I know the Air Force isn't racist, but I guess like he thought I was racist or something, or maybe it just is so prevalent back then. But to me, that was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse or anything. So
you're fine. No, you're fine.
I apologize if I already have cursed.
Oh yeah, I will curse as well. So please don't hold me to that standard.
No, I didn't know what to think, and I kind of honestly thought maybe this is a sign. Maybe I shouldn't be in the Air Force, And I was walking out, and sure as shit, I noticed right next to the I noticed right next to the Air Force recruiter was a Navy recruiter, and I went in there, and I was like, "Hey, um, I'd like to talk to you guys about joining the Navy." And the guy was like, "You know what? We're about to go home for the day." I said, "Oh, okay." He's like, "But what'd you get on the ASVAB?" And I said like 50 something. He's like, "Well, did you take the paper test or did you take the computer test?" I said it was paper. It was at high school. He's like, "Well, what I'd like to do is for you to come in tomorrow and take a test, and then we'll see if we can, go from there." And these guys, they wanted to go home. I could tell. So then I came back, like, it wasn't the next day. It was like a week later, and I was calling that guy, and took took the test, and then he's like, "Wow, you know what? You're better at computers because you scored a lot better." And I scored like a 70, 75 or something like that. He's like, "We can use this one, but they're gonna make you take another one at DEP." He says, like, and he asked me, "Do you know what DEP is, by the way?"
No, I don't.
That's delayed entry program. I don't know if it's still around.
Okay.
Anyways, he's like, "When you go to DEP, they're gonna make you take another one and do good and do real good on it, and then you can go talk to somebody about getting locked in on a job." So I was like, "Cool, man. I'm just some poor ass white kid, and I'm just looking for a way out of where I was living."
Now, when it came to, were you second generation military then? Were your parents the first generation to
I'm
serve?
actually fourth generation.
Fourth generation. So this
Yeah.
is
Beyond that,
in your genes.
if I don't know if it's my great grandfather. There's a picture of him in a like a World War II uniform or World War One uniform,
Okay.
but I don't know if beyond that. I'm not going to speculate.
Sure. Well, and you're from the South, so maybe that's a good idea. We stop it at World War One. Just let sleeping dogs fly.
So
Uh,
no, my family got here a long time ago. Like my family's from like on my dad's side. I don't really know where they're from, but they were living in Georgia because of Fort Benning. But
okay.
my family's from Tennessee, and then they moved up to Illinois on
Oh,
my
okay.
mom's side.
Okay. I was originally raised in Iowa, so I'm from the
Okay.
Midwest area there, and a northwest tip of Iowa, South Dakota, and Minnesota.
Yeah, I lived all over. Like I lived in a lot of places before I joined the military.
So after you get signed in to the Navy, what year are you talking about here when you're signing
97.
up? 1997. All right. So 1997. Uh, I mean, I remember those commercials when I was still pretty young. I'm 38. Um, and they seem like, go explore the world. Everything was relatively peaceful at that time. Uh, I mean, I know we were doing stuff beneath the scenes, but there wasn't 9/11. 9/11 hadn't happened. Now, you're already, what, 4 years in your military career when 9/11 happens? What impact would you say that had on your decision going forward?
You mean like to stay in?
Yeah. Or just in general. I mean,
I didn't.
were
I
were
don't.
you at a time where you were thinking about maybe leaving the Navy or
Yeah, now that you mention it, like I was thinking about getting out, but at the same time, I kind of wanted to stay in. I was on the fence about the whole thing, and at the same time, like back then they had the high three. High three is it's a type of retirement they used to give. So I signed up on the old high three system, so I could get a pretty good benefit if I did 20.
Oh, okay. So this was a contract to go 20 years then with the
No,
military?
no. You gotta break it up into increments. You can do 4 to 6 at a time,
Okay.
and every 4 or 6 years, or however many years you can reenlist, you sign back up at that time. You got to do a new oath and everything. Like they separate you from the military, and then they sign you back up, and you join the
Oh,
same
okay.
day.
Okay. So, uh, your first stint in the Navy then, is that a 4-year term or a 6-year?
No, it's 4 years.
It's 4 years. So 97 to 01. So I mean, 9/11 happened before you re-upped or after?
I think I extended, and then I reenlisted while I was deployed. And then the reason I reenlisted is because we were in a tax-free zone, and they were like, "We can give you $20,000 here, and it's tax-free." I said, "Well, I'm already thinking about staying in," and back in the day, like that was a lot of money. So I signed up while I was deployed on that 9/11 cruise.
Where were you deployed at?
We were off the coast of we were there, like the Persian Gulf.
Oh, really?
Well, here's how it went, man. I did my first deployment in 2000, and we left, and it was like a big thing because like we were going to be in Hong Kong on New Year's or something like that. I can't remember if we were there on New Year's or not, but it was damn close, and everybody was partying like it was like New Year's. So I don't think we were actually there on New Year's. I'll have to check my old cruise book. But and then we came back. I think we came back in April, and that was a fun cruise because that was before 9/11. And we came back 2001 of April. But yeah, we got to visit all kinds of places, and it was really fun. I got to go to Kuala Lumpur, uh, Australia, Tasmania, all kinds of places.
Which one surprised you the most? Because I mean, you're still pretty. I mean, I know you've been moving around the states, so you have sort of a cultural experience at a young age, realizing the differences in different areas. But now you're in the Navy and you're going to these other countries. What which one stood out to you the most where like you look back when you're 19 20 years old and thinking, god damn, this is absolutely insane?
Like which country was like the most insane, or is that what your question is?
Yeah, which one stood out to you the most that really
Probably
shocked you?
when I first got to Korea. Korea was my first foreign country, and it was just a culture shock, and I did a lot of stupid things. Like as somebody who's never been in a foreign country before, who I think I was underage too. I think I was like 19 or 20, and I got drunk. I'd never drank before. I was walking around. I mean, that was pretty crazy. That was probably the craziest was Busan.
uh
Busan, South Korea. They call it Busan now.
what I mean, and so I mean, you're over there really experiencing probably the high moments of the US military Navy at that time in 2000 2001, early 2001, and then you come back, you said in April of 01,
I think so.
or around that time.
Yeah.
And then are you required to stay stateside for a certain amount of time before you
No,
go? Okay. How's
no.
that work? You're off on another.
But I was attached to a certain ship because they had trained me to work on TACAN radios, tactical air navigation. It supplies like constant bearing and range to the flight tower or another aircraft. So
pretty big job.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought I'd get taught stuff like that when I was younger. But
So
they just I was with a unit, and my unit was that we were all trained in avionics. And if there was an area we had to go to, we were assigned to certain AORs, areas of responsibility, and mine was the USS Stennis.
okay. So wherever Stennis went, that's where
Yes.
you guys would go. So you go to the Pacific side, and then you're back stateside, and then where do you go from there?
At the time, I was stationed up at Whidbey Island.
Is that I don't know where that's at actually.
It's in Washington State.
Okay, all right. So you're still on the
It's one
Pacific
of I
side.
think it's the largest. It's the longest island in America.
Now, had you been coast side before this? Had you lived any of your time on the coast, or you just
I
mostly?
lived in California, and I got to go to Santa Cruz once, and I'd seen the ocean once.
it's you got to see it a lot.
Yeah, I got to see it a lot when I joined the Navy.
So I'm sort of curious about what happens after 9/11 with you guys, because obviously everything picks up. Now you said you're on the I forget where you said you were, Persian Gulf during 9/11, or was it
Yeah,
right
I mean
after
the boat moves
9/11?
around. It's constantly moving around. Like whether it goes through the Canal or not, like they can fly aircraft. They can move wherever they need to.
And your boat was over there.
We left to relieve the Abraham Lincoln. I had a buddy on that boat. I remember because he was emailing us and bitching about it because he had been over there for so long because they got extended because of 9/11.
Oh yeah, that's right. That started.
Yeah.
And then I mean, you serve all throughout these engagements in Afghanistan, Iraq. Um, how does it make you feel now when you look back on the policies that were sending you guys out over there? Um, you know, um, I mean, you served such a long time in the military. Obviously, you're very patriotic. You love your country. But you had to have seen just sort of a lot of corruption within the military at the same time. Or were you trying to just avoid that while you were
No, we
in it?
talked about that. I mean, if you're talking about Abu Ghraib prison and all that,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, everybody hated that. We talked shit about those people. Fuck 'em.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that was going on too. I forgot all about the prison
That's
thing
a big
there.
deal, man.
We had a guy on that was a interrogator during the Iraq war, and he's working on a book called Tea Time with Terrorists.
How
And
old are you, man?
I'm 38, so I'm,
So I don't know if you remember, but a lot of things they didn't play in the news. They didn't tell the American people. And a lot of times we like to think about they were talking about that during that time. That's not true. They didn't talk about that until like Obama was president. And then they really started talking about it when Trump was president.
yeah.
And then they were like, oh, we got to pull out all these countries. And then Biden goes in. And then, the rest.
What stood out to you the most that they weren't talking about while you were out there? Like,
I told you before, I was stationed in Japan before this show started.
Yes,
So I
yes.
got to watch Japanese news. And I was watching Japanese news. When I came back from 9/11, I transferred to Japan. So then I immediately started watching their news. And I was over there for 5 years Like the government ran out of money and they couldn't transfer me. So I was there for like another almost year. But on their news, they were talking about like how they were using depleted uranium rounds and things like that. And all these babies were being born with birth defects. And they would never have played that on the news in America.
No.
You know, I
I'm
mean, we
I
talk about it like we know it now, but nobody knew that back in 2005, 2004. All foreign countries did, but the American people didn't, unless they were traveling abroad.
there's a great podcast. It's a news deconstruction podcast called The No Agenda Show, and I'm very lucky to have stumbled across it. It's been going on for 17 years now. But it was, I was raised to I was planning on being a missionary in Ukraine back in 05, 06, and was actually going to serve in the Donbass area over there and had acquaintances over there during that time. And so I had paid close attention to that whole region for several years by the time what happened in 2014 took place. And so I knew about the coup and overthrowing the government there. And I was just that it was in 2014, man, I discovered the No Agenda Show. And it was the only podcast that would get news bites from different countries and play them against our own news and to deconstruct our own news propaganda. And it's really an eye-opening moment. I mean, for you were in the military seeing this happen. For someone that's just going about their day-to-day business in the U.S., I mean, it's very hard to get actual facts of what we're doing. And it's sort of interesting how people have their eyes open in different areas.
Well, I can tell you a story right now.
Please do, yeah.
And I didn't sign no NDA either for this. So we pulled into Singapore December of 2000, I think. Hold on a sec. Yeah, 2001. Hold on. Yeah. That's it. So we pulled into Singapore in 2001. And now I'd been to Singapore before, and I wanted to go back to this place called the Quays. It's like big drinking district. And
Pause it
next
real
day I
quick.
had
We'll pause it real quick. Drink
okay.
of choice for you, Richard. I'm dying to know.
Well, I don't drink anymore.
Okay. Okay. That's probably the best drink of choice.
Yeah.
What was the drink of choice that made you decide to never drink again?
Just I'm fasting right now.
Okay. All right.
And I'm doing it for Lent. And I gave up alcohol.
Okay.
And I just think I'm not going to drink anymore.
It's just been a better experience all around. No, and I didn't mean to get you sidetracked. I was just sort of curious what type of drink you were pounding down in Singapore at the time.
Well, back then we were drinking shit like Goldschlager and what's that? Shock. You remember you open it up and the crystals form at the bottom?
Yes.
And we were drinking like just crazy shit.
Okay, yeah. All right.
And then they had the place that I wanted to go to it was like my buddies were telling me about it, and it was like a hospital, and you go in and there's these hot nurses and they ask you, what would you like? And they bring the drinks out, and some of them look like shots, like actual shots that you would get a shot, but you just kind of squirt it in your mouth and it's alcohol. But it was like the whole theme of the bar was that it was a hospital, but you're getting like you're drinking.
All right. So I mean, having a good time here in Singapore, September 2001. Oh, what happens though?
Well, I got drunk that night. And then the next day I pulled duty and they muster us up and I was with this group. We were the bus watchers and I was assigned to a certain bus. And I forget how many buses they had. But I think I had one of the last watches of the day. And I I was hungover and I didn't want to be on that bus, And I was my job was to make sure that the guys that got on the bus had ID cards. And then the bus goes around different stops. We pick sailors up, we drop them off around different spots in Singapore. So like we had a Liberty route and the bus drivers were all privately contracted. Anyways, before somebody got on the bus, I had to check their ID card and I had to make sure that they had you know, they were supposed to be getting on the bus. We stopped. Anyways, that whole day I was like hungover. I'm on this bus and it was like the worst watch. And there's we get to this one stop near the train station and there's this guy and he's like, yeah, I need to get on. I said, okay, I need to see your ID. He's like, well, I lost my wallet. I was like, well, you need to go talk to the watch commander and you need to tell him that. He said, okay. And then the bus driver said, why don't you just let him on the bus? I was like, well, I can't do that. He's like, okay. Come back to the base. And I talked to I talked to I talked to the watch commander. And the watch commander, you know what he told me?
What?
He said, shut the fuck up. I don't want any problems on my watch, and I'm almost off shift. I said, okay. Went back, did the route, got to the train station. That guy was there again. And he's like, dude, I got to get on the bus. I was like, I can't let you on the bus. Told, and I really couldn't leave anywhere because I'm stuck at the bus, And him and the bus driver went off to the side and started talking, which I thought was super fucking weird. Get back to base. And I talked to the other bus watch guys because we all come back at the same time. And I was like, hey, did you guys have this happen? And guess what, man? Every fucking one of them said yes. So we got to go tell the watch commander. And we told him.
What are you
And he said,
thinking? Like what are you thinking
what are you thinking, man? Like 9/11 just happened.
Yeah. Are you gonna like
So
blow up a bus or?
let me finish. So I'm talking to the watch commander, and he seems concerned now, but he's like, you guys just go stand your watch. I don't want to deal with this shit. And he walks off. He probably made a report. He probably wrote it down. I pulled those sailors together, and I was a third class at the time. I said, look, man, we pull chocks. We pull up the anchor in 12 hours. it's up to us. Like we gotta make sure nobody gets on the bus. Like I thought this watch was stupid, but then I saw that firsthand, and it freaked me out.
Yeah.
They're all like, sure as shit, same motivation as me because they felt and saw the same thing too. And we do it one more time, and that guy is still there, man. And he doesn't even ask to get on the bus. He and the bus driver walk over and smoke a cigarette together. I still remember what he was wearing. He looked like a Filipino guy. He had khaki pants. He had like penny loafers. His shirt was tucked in, and he had a backpack. And I remember how the bus driver looked too. He was a Middle Eastern man, and he was wearing Middle Eastern clothes. And we were in Singapore. And I thought the whole thing was fucking weird.
Yeah.
Go back to the base, talk to the guys again. I said, hey, we need to get everybody together and we need to do a proper pass down. And they were like, okay. And we did one. And I didn't want to go off watch. I didn't, but at the same time, like the next person had the watch and I told them how to stand it. We left port. The next day, nothing happened. And we were out to sea. And 2 weeks later, it felt like 2 weeks. I can't remember the time. But it was on CNN. And it said that terror plot thwarted. And I got it pulled up right now. They're called if you go, God, what's these? Gemma, forget the name. You there?
Yeah. No, I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay. Hold on a second. I'm trying to read this. They're called the Gemma Islamia, a regional affiliate of the global terrorist group Al Qaeda, which carried out the terrorist attacks of 2001.
Wow.
Now, let me tell you something, dude. My ship was replacing the Lincoln. And I'm not going to tell you everything, but we were properly armed to fight that war with the proper personnel. And what the terror plot was, I'm not going to tell you everything because I don't remember. And I always tell somebody, don't use me. Find your own source. But if you look up 2001 Singapore, it tells you everything. 2001 Singapore terror plot.
I'm looking it up right now, see if I can find it here. Let's see here. Yeah, right here. I'll pull it up on the screen so our people can see it. Give me a sec here. Right there. Right there it is. The Singapore embassy's attack plot was a plan in 2001 by Jamaah Islamiyah to bomb the diplomatic missions and attack personnel of the United States, Australia, United Kingdom, and Israel based in Singapore. It was uncovered in December 2001, and as many as 15 people were arrested in Singapore within a month. Further investigation and intelligence prompted the detention of 26 persons from 2002 to 2005. And as of 2006, 37 of them were still being detained without trial under the Internal Security Act. Jeez.
So anyways, talked about this once before.
That's crazy.
I talked about this once before. I created an account on Reddit because I just felt like, I wanted to talk about this.
Sure.
And you wouldn't believe what happened. All these people came out from nowhere and were telling me I was wrong, that it wasn't the trains, it was the embassies. You were wrong. There was no terror plot there. So here's what I think happened. Maybe there was one on the embassies, but originally they were trying to attack our ship who was going to the Middle East.
Wow.
And if I tell you something, man,
Wow.
if the Stennis had been attacked, what would the world be like today?
Well, as someone who spent time over in Japan, I mean, and you obviously, JD Vance has ties with the interests in China, and I firmly believe that the direction is going to be a faux Cold War with China for the next, however 50, 60 years we're going to run that.
Well, I hope not, because the way things are with AI, can you imagine a Cold War with AI? Like the kind of propaganda
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the kind of what do you call those things? The
Psyops.
no, I mean yeah, but I'm talking about like when you click on something and then it starts showing you maxi pads and shit like that. You're not even interested in them.
Uh yeah,
What's
I
it
know what you
called?
mean. Yeah, clickbait, not clickbait, but
No, no,
uh
algorithm.
yes. Yeah.
Now,
Yes, your
now,
algorithms.
imagine if there was an algorithm back in Cold War. Imagine if there was AI or something like that. Like, what would the Cold War be like? You got two superpowers going at it. Space race, nuclear weapons.
But don't you, I mean, don't you feel we're already in this Cold War? We just have yet to make it official?
I mean, yeah, but what I'm saying, man, is it needs to end soon. Like, we need world peace, seriously. And I'm not talking about like a freaking one world government. I'm talking
Right.
about like what it was like before September 11th. We had peace,
It
you
was,
know?
yeah, it,
Like
people,
what we just need peace. We just need like why are we having these wars? It's stupid. It's really fucking stupid.
well, I'm sure like you have seen the effect war has had on people you served with. Um,
I don't I don't have any friends. I don't make friends anymore because I've lost too many.
yeah. Well, and
And the
that's
ones I have and the ones I have, we don't talk to each other anymore, you know? Like we love each other, but it's you become a civilian and you start living this life and it's normal and you're trying to cope and everything, and you don't really, I mean, some people do, but like where I'm living, like I don't know, it's different.
how
Maybe it's just me. I am kind of like a hermit. I don't really talk to people.
I think there's all sorts, we've talked to a lot of different people who have served. Some of my best friends, one was my neighbor, Bill, who I got to know really well a few years ago. And like, man, I here's my thing, because I am just a civilian, right? And I hate saying thank you for your service, because it just feels like a cop out. And when I talked to Bill's job in the army was to go door to door in Iraq, right? So Bill was good with a gun. Bill had seen death before, and now here he was in a middle of nowhere bumfuck South Dakota, and and he was from the city originally, right? But he moved out to the country just because he wanted a little bit quieter life. And everyone treated him like he was some second class citizen. And it drove me insane because here's this man who has gone through so much and could just, anytime someone picked on him, could easily just kill you. Like could just easily kill you and be done with you, and knows he can do that, and instead has to be just a good person. And which, like despite all the stuff he went through. And when and here's my thing. He had a couple of kids, and I hope that one day they understand how amazing their father was. Because to live every day like that is something no one else understands except the people that went through it. And like in some cases it's better off, you find ways to cope by yourself, and in some areas people need a group to work through it, and I don't judge either way of, handling it. Because it's your healing, it's your process, and learning how to readapt after so much was asked of you guys.
It's mainly the time away from our families. Being
Yeah.
and doing a thing is it can affect you. I mean, I got my medical problems, but the biggest thing for me, even being partially disabled and everything, is like that time I lost with my family. That's that's the biggest toll. I mean, there's guys that can say I'm full of crap, they probably don't love their families like me. Or maybe there's people that lost more than me, and I get that. But for me, it was being away from my family.
Well, and and when I say, thank you for your service, that's the type of stuff that people need to understand is involved. It's, I understand you're fourth generation military, family after family member from your line has served the United States of America. And I feel like on our show, we want we want that to be used only when necessary. Not to like pipe in some oil in a country that doesn't want it. Like if we're going to have these great lineages of families that serve in the military, let's make it for a reason that really matters. You know,
You're
let's
exactly right.
let's not just let's just not use them to make business transactions. And I feel especially, and maybe, how do you feel? Like, do you feel like that's how, essentially since 2000? Well, I mean, it's been longer, but since 2001, it seemed like the military was just being thrown into every situation to help. Either it was Cheney or Obama or Hillary
I
or
look back now, knowing what I know, and it seems like they had the stupidest people running things. Like, there was one time in Iraq, I was listening to a podcast, and I forget who it was, but the plan, because what they did was they took out the bath party. They arrested everybody who was in the bath party. And like that included like kindergarten teachers, you know?
right.
So anyways, you do that to a country and then suddenly it just stops working, you know? And their thing was like, well, we'll just give them ATM cards and we're going to give them money in their bank accounts and then they can buy stuff. And they were like, "Oh, okay, cool." So they did this and they spent all this money on it and shit. And then it wasn't until after they issued out the ATM cards that they realized in Iraq they don't have ATMs. Like, really? Like, that's crazy. Are you there? Hello? Hello? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, freaked me out, man. Thought we got cut.
So my internet's been struggling today, so I apologize for that. No, I lost you right as you were talking about when the country stops working.
Oh yeah, when the country stops working. So they came up with this plan to give everybody money and put it on these ATM cards. Are you there? Shit.
Yes. No, I'm here.
Okay, you cut out again. So what they did was they came up with this idea to give everybody in the country money and put it on these ATM cards, only to find out that after they sent out all these ATM cards with money on them, they didn't have ATM cards, or they didn't have ATMs in Iraq.
No.
Yeah.
That's
like
well,
mismanaged that
so
badly.
We had a lady on from Haiti, and she discussed how when after the earthquake they took out the financial institution in Haiti and they did the exact same thing. They just gave everyone ATM cards. Now I don't know if they actually had ATMs in Haiti, but still.
You want to hear something crazy?
Yeah. Yes.
The guy that ran that program for the government, he had to resign because he failed the Iraq war so bad. He resigned. And then his next profession was a ski instructor. Yeah, man, wrap your head around that. If I'm wrong, call me out, but you can look it up. I looked it up. He's in Colorado.
That's funny because I'm an electrician by trade, and I've I wired up a couple of ski resorts when I was out there. So
may run past that dude.
Yeah, may have met the old.
Be like, hey, how do you feel about that ATM card thing in Iraq? Boy, that was a douche maneuver.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
And those are the same people like that. That kind of intel got us into the war in Iraq.
Yes. Yep.
So obviously, well, there was no intel, and they just wanted to go into Iraq, and all these fucking people died, and all these babies were born with fucked up looking skulls, and then you got people with sleep disorders and all kinds of crazy shit. But somebody got rich.
We typed it into Grok since 2001, and the United States military, or what's the term they use? Special operations instead of military. How many deaths have occurred? And I think it said like 10.4 million people have died since 2001. And here's the thing, man. What's to show for it? Afghanistan, not ours. Iraq, not ours. Not friendly. All these other places.
Hey, real quick. Look up how much the U.S. Embassy cost in Iraq to build.
Pull it up here.
Look up the U.S. Embassy in Iraq, and they spent years making this place. And now it's owned by whoever's over there now.
$50 billion.
Isn't that crazy? For a building. A building, bro. Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
How come
Well,
nobody's talking about that?
how are you feeling now that Elon Musk is doing this whole Doge? Like, how have you felt after seeing? Because you've seen this stuff as it was going on, right? Like, I mean, you guys talked about this stuff as it was happening. So this is years in the past now. Now that you see Elon and Doge publicly showing the misappropriation of funds, I mean, that's got to warm your heart a little bit, I would think.
Yeah, I hope they get held to the fire.
It's a long time coming, you know.
It's not just a long time coming. I hope they get all of them.
I don't know if you saw that interview with Rogan where he's saying that he can't expose all the corruption, otherwise they'll kill him.
Well, then, fuck them. They're gonna try it again. If that's out there, this is war. If that exists out there, that level of "we'll get you," and really, because I can't help but notice we're America, and we'll get you, and we'll get you right now. So I hope they go after everyone.
Well, it's
everyone.
like,
If it's the King of England,
yeah,
hang him. Fuck him. We don't bow to nobody. Sorry.
no, I agree. I agree with you, Richard, because we're at a point now where it definitely seems like we have been doing the bidding of the monarchy this whole time.
Do you have
Since
kids?
1813. I do. Yep, I do. Yeah.
Now think about, they're taken from our kids. It's our children's future. And these people are going to play this game. We'll get you? Oh, no. No, we're going to get you. And I hope they get them all.
And well, here's the thing, right? Like, it also comes down to us in our own community, right? Like, it's nice to see it on a federal level happening, but in the end, it's when we talk about what's going on in our county, in our
I live
city.
in Seattle.
Yeah, exactly. So you
And
understand.
I am an island.
Yeah.
And people here, Americans, because they don't travel, because they travel in the US, because they only think about the US, they don't see how we fit into the world. And they think like things are nice in India. They think things are great in to visit London. They think, "Oh, Paris. Let's go see Paris right now." You know, and if you actually go to all those places right now, it's not a cool hangout spot. You know, I got to visit Rome back in 2013. It was pretty cool, but I don't know if I'd go there now.
I I'm sort of furious because as a millennial, right? I feel like, am I the last generation to know what free travel was like, where you could go to Russia, where you could go to China, where you could go anywhere. You could go
No,
anywhere, and
no, it needs
now
to it needs to all come to a head right now and be done with. So our children don't do this.
I
And
agree.
we're the ones that do it. And there is no, "Oh, we're going to back down." No, dude, we're coming. We have to. We don't have a choice. Like I don't have I have like I don't have any friends. I
Well,
mean, I have friends, but we don't talk. Like like the American people, man, they just need to wake up. They talk about this great awakening. I think part of that is understanding like we need to we need to be a proper country again. We need to stop like they need to study hamster farts in New Guinea. Like, who gives a shit? Stop paying for this shit. What are we paying for? Like, people don't even know what we're paying for.
No.
Like, and they want to protest, and they're told, and they're so deluded that all they got to do is be like, Elon bad, Doge bad, and they're fucking. I mean, there was a lady down the street from where I am at. You might have saw it in a place called Linwood, Washington. That's 1 mile from my house. A guy got out and threatened her life. Said if she doesn't stop driving a Tesla, somebody's going to hurt her. And she had her kid in the back seat. You're right. The war is at home too. And I started talking to people last year because I live here, and I see how deluded people are, and I'm just so sick of it. And I get, I go through phases, man.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I get so amped up, I get angry, and I want people to change their minds, but
It's
you
not
can't.
healthy. It's not
You
healthy.
can't. You can't make them think differently. They just have to be shown. They
Yeah.
really do. And I live here, and they have to be shown. I tell you what, man, people are starting to wake up,
Yep.
and there's there's protests crossing I-5 right now. They're waving their stupid flags, but there's less people going to them, and more people are like, we actually like Doge. I mean, everybody's speaking up about it now, but there's a lot of silence, and people are sitting on the sideline like they're waiting for something. All that's going to happen is they're going to realize like things are getting better, and they're going to come to our side. I think the Democratic Party's dead. But you're talking about wars, and you're talking about Cold Wars. I think that once we're a strong country, we don't have to worry about these wars, because people just want to be free. People want to be like you and want to travel. People don't want wars. Bankers want wars.
I think, first of all, I think you're right. And I think this is probably the best time to be alive, right? And I'll give you a couple of reasons why. And X is a big reason. 2020 changed this country, changed the mentality of the workers in this country, changed the psychology of this country. It was a huge blow to any American that worked hard to create their own business. They were swamped, and a lot of them went under. And then the other half were people who were is waitresses and waiters and in the service industry. All of those people were told, you're not important.
Yeah.
So to come out of that, and we see this rebellion in the workforce, we see it, and everyone acts surprised, and I'm not. I'm understanding, because if the government is willing to say that, which the United States government has never had that ability, nor and I think after COVID, it will never have that ability again, to dictate that. Without fierce resistance. And that, I think, is the glimmer of hope behind what happened in COVID. Is sure, they tried to control all the conversations, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, name the social media site. They tried to ban any talk about what the government was telling them not to. And even then, at the most powerful mode the American government had for a propaganda wing, it was not able to control the American mind. And it broke through. Twitter got bought by Elon. And even though that it has several issues with X, in the end, it is the freest platform where you can talk about medical misinformation than any other place, which is huge. And amongst other things, these stories about Doge coming out, no other news agency would cover that if it hadn't been for X being bought out by Elon. So I think we're seeing, I think we're going to see the regular attempts by the government, right? Like, I think we're going to see 8 years from now, JD Vance is going to, try to make China a Cold War nation. I think there is going to be a severe push for that. And it's up to us really to keep communication lines open. That's why, like, I interview people like you, Richard. I interview, we had a lieutenant colonel on, we had Flat Earth Dave on, we have the whole spectrum of people on, because in the end, as long as you're communicating with people, these countries can't get away with what they're trying. Like, we see what happened in Ukraine. They really tried hard. This was probably their biggest attempt to get us into a World War III I have ever seen them push in my lifetime. And it failed. It has failed. The whole thing has fallen apart on them. It couldn't even last 2 years without it falling apart on them. And that's because people were allowed to communicate. And what's the first thing those countries in the European Union do? Ban free speech on social sites.
Yeah, that really pisses me off, man.
Well, they have to, because they understand what America does not and cannot enforce. And that is, when you allow people to talk to each other, none of their stuff works. So they have to ban free speech. They can't have it. And even now, they can't control. They can't control the free speech in Germany. They can't control it in France. All in Netherlands, all these people are still organizing and having these huge riots, which we're not covering on American news, against their governments, because they don't want a war either. And it's all because they still have means of communication. And now the funding for USAID has collapsed, which means there's no counter protest that they can organize. And so now you're seeing the real desires of the people in these countries. And so I think it's a good thing. I think we're on the precipice of monumental change towards peace. But
I think
go ahead.
I think you're right. I think what's happened is going to be in every person's mind for at least 2 or 3 generations. And these institutions that they built to defraud people and pilfer their countries, I think that is going to be really hard to be built with future technologies, because you can't ask people, "Oh, we need a budget." Okay, tell us what's in the budget. And I can ask Grok to go through the budget and, like, hey, say that, and I can tell Grok to do stuff. I don't know if you've gone through my account, but I do some pretty cool things with AI. But I can ask Grok to do things, and you can ask Grok to filter things. And in the future, like, I don't see how they would do that. The way that they would have to do that would be to operate outside of that system. So then you would actually have, in my mind, the only way that would be possible is if they faked wars, like, completely. And I know that sounds crazy, and I don't, but to try to convince a public that, oh, like, and you've watched 1984, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
But I don't see how you'd build it from the ground up. You'd have to build it from the top down. And since we have free and fair elections, that'd be hard to do unless we start electing some people that would do that.
America has turned into a thorn in the side of this New World Order plan. Thankfully, we did what we were supposed to do, and it's not complete. It's nowhere near complete.
I don't see how those governments in the digital age of free and even not free, you can pay for information. And information, real truth, you don't have to put on the news. It will spread by itself. So I don't see, and they probably realize that if America exists, we'll always be a threat to that order
Yep.
because people would come to us for that. And that's why our culture is so strong. I mean, we got a strong culture. And what do these people do? They try to knock our culture down. That's what they do, and they make people want to go to these protests because they feel bad about being Americans.
Yeah,
I
and
don't see how it could happen again.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I mean, they'll try. They'll always try as long as there's a monarchy. There's always going to be attempts to bring the world into its fold, and that's just human nature with all these governments, right? But I think this is the uniqueness of America is we can have some, I like to say we have some say, but I honestly believe since Kennedy, we haven't really had a say in a president since Trump. And
Yeah,
but we
'cause
got
even
Trump.
even Reagan did shit that
horrible
like
shit.
he got rid of assault weapons.
And gave
Like
the
real ones.
CIA all their
Like
power.
he did that. He he could have done a lot of things and he didn't do them. He did a lot of things good.
Yes. Yep.
But if you're looking at controlled
Freedom.
opposition
Yeah.
and things like that, like, hey, we can make some money in 4 years, but we got to get through this dip. That's how that's how they think.
Yes.
Why do you think they have this homeless industrial complex? Why do you think they have so many homeless people in Seattle and all these drug users? They want to lower the value of all those private businesses so all the people like me and you can't own businesses down there. We get ran out and the cops don't show up and they don't help us. And then we keep electing these idiots who's, oh, I'm going to fix things. And they don't fix things and it keeps getting worse. And eventually everyone leaves. And then what happens?
Yeah.
Well, the Chinese come in and they buy up all the land, and all their friends and all the people who helped them can make all the money. And me and you get pushed further and further aside. And our culture gets pushed further and further aside.
And we're seeing the pushback now, finally, I think. And it's funny because even extreme leftists, like that's their pushback as well, right? So it doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you're on, the message is somewhat similar, right? The means to getting there is vastly different. And I agree with you. The Democrat Party has, I'm not going to say they've killed themselves because they've got too powerful of a notebook of contacts to ever go away.
If they were smart, they'd just shut up.
If they were smart, they would
and then they could try again. Like,
yeah,
give it 2 years.
Yeah.
Don't they're out of the, what do they say, out of the racetrack, acting stupid. Like, if this is unbelievable, look at all these judges trying to, and it's only making them look worse, and their polling's just going to keep getting worse, especially as people. And I live in Washington State, and they're trying to make it harder on us. And I know why. They're trying to make it look like in Washington State it sucked because Trump was president. I mean, our gas, I pay $4 a gallon right now.
Wow.
I know it's not like that where you are.
No.
But it's unreal how expensive it is. And why do I live here? Because I have children here. Because, people always ask that question, why do you still live there? Well, I got roots here, man, and I can't move.
Yep.
And I tell you what, if it keeps happening here, it's going to happen a state over. And then it keeps happening. So you got to fight it here. You can't just leave. And I keep voting, and that's all I can do is vote. But here's the problem. A lot of us don't think they're counting our votes. We think we got we really think we have a problem with our voting here in Washington.
Why is that?
Because there's these voter initiatives. Like, we sign ballots to get things on the thing. And the numbers show it should have passed. But no, we do want to raise taxes. No. Nobody believes that. And we were also the only state in the union to increase its Democratic hold in state offices. Like I think we've only got like 12 Republican delegates against a Democratic majority. They're trying to ban natural gas in our state.
And here's the thing.
I got my heater on right now. It's natural gas. If they ban that, I'm cold.
And you can't burn wood fireplace anymore, right?
No, they want us to buy this electric thing. It costs $40,000 to install in your house. If people don't start seeing this, and they do, but I think these people would vote Republican, but our it's messed up. Like we really don't think our vote counts here.
Well, and I see concerning things on the opposite side of the spectrum, on the Republican side. I lived in South Dakota for several years. The great state of South Dakota, which there was a lot of great things about South Dakota. So when I bitch about South Dakota, I'm not taking away from all the great things I loved about it, but there were concerns, right? Like the far left, what happens is it turns into Washington, where it's like communism ran and there's a hierarchy of bureaucracy. And if you're in the end, you're in. And if you're not, then, you're going to have to install an electric stove in your house. And then on the extreme right, you have a form of fascism, and, where certain speech is banned. Uh, Free thought is discouraged as well. But it's all done, under the guise of a whole nother reason. And it's concerning to me when I see both extremes accomplishing the goals that erode the Constitution. I hate to harp on it, but they made me do this, right? They go there, and this was passed in South Dakota before it was passed into law in the United States Congress, which was the anti-Semitic law, which if you go through what it actually means to be anti-Semitic, like half of those terms, we can all get behind the fact that if you see a person and he's Jewish and you pick on him, that's anti-Semitic. Like that's a horrible thing to do to someone. But to change your belief system or how you teach scripture or
that crosses the line.
It crosses a huge line. And that's the Republican far right for you. They did that, not the left, not the commies. It was the Republican side. And so they need to be held, they're running now. Trump is in there, and he's got a vendetta that I think most of America has towards the American political system. But under Trump is a bunch of corrupted Republicans who are getting away with murder as long as they can until they get caught as well. Hopefully.
Yeah, you're right. And that's something I worried about a long time ago. Like back when Obama was still president. I was worried that the pendulum swings so far. What happens when you let go and it swings the other way?
Yeah.
There needs to be something to stop it. And I think that free speech enables that. I don't see how that could just materialize now with free speech. People get called out all the time. You see it on X.
Yes.
Yes.
But still, it's only on X. You know what I mean? Like we need to come up with a better system that isn't, because what's this? Elon is a man. X is a corporation, and in the end of the day, we need to have either protections for us on platforms that are getting tax diversions for being non-editorial, was it for being publishers, not editorial? If they're getting tax breaks, then then there has to be some. Either way, it's like we have a little bit of breathing room, and look at what we've accomplished. We need to get more breathing room.
Yeah. Yeah, this this time we're living in, it's opening up people's minds to possibilities.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the things that we worried about, I hope we don't have to worry about them in the future. I hope we have to worry about like new things and things that aren't as bad as like there's so much technology now. There's no reason to live like this. Like we don't have to live like this. If they want that space communism, we could actually do that.
Yeah.
But these bankers need to be paid. Well, why? Why do we need to pay these guys? You know? If the people can run the economy and the people can build a society, why do we need these guys? I understand people need loans to buy a house. I can't just go out. I got to save money. You got to, but how much of our country, like all of our debt, like he's showing us, like all of our debt is BS.
Yeah.
Like it's not paying for grandma's dentures. It's paying for BS. It's it sucks. We could like seriously like that building, bro. $50 billion for a building in Iraq. How much would it cost to get every homeless person treated and housed out of the freaking rain? And if they're a threat to themselves and others, which they are, why are they running loose on the streets? And I'm not trying to lock them up, man. I'm trying to
No.
put them in an environment where they can be safe from hurting themselves and getting the treatment they like. You
You
know?
know, it reminded me of there's a place in, oh man, I think it's Britt or Hull, Iowa. I think it's Britt, Iowa. As there's a hobo convention there every year. It's a big whoop to do in this town, right? And all of these hobos come, and they got a hobo museum there, and it goes into the 1920s and into the 1930s, when hobos weren't just like homeless people we see now, but it's sort of similar, where they traveled on these trains across, starting all the way northeast, all the way down to California. And there became quite a big hobo camp in California, and they would pick crops and do all, whatever they could to make a few bucks along the way down the train line as the seasons changed. And then right before World War II starts, Roosevelt comes in and he creates the New Deal, right? And he takes all of these hobos and puts them into camps and teaches them how to be engineers and architects, and they built the roads to all the national parks and stuff. These hobos did. And it felt to me like, was this their plan, right? Like just to destitute a bunch of people, kill off the ones that were, worthless. And then, when Kamala came in, they were just going to go full communism and, do what Roosevelt did. And just, it's just interesting to me, like the similarities we
I think it would have
had.
been worse than that. If they'd won,
Yeah.
it would have been way worse than that.
Yeah.
And
That's,
I think they would have put us into a Great Depression where everybody felt like they needed to turn to the government, and then they would have told us how to live. Like, hey, you can't afford living in a single family home no more. Here's your 300 square foot
yeah.
pad.
Shouldn't you be
And,
happy to be in an apartment complex?
like that's what their plan was, I think. I mean, that's what they're doing in Europe.
Yeah.
That's what and they're wanting, oh, they got to be our ally. Well, maybe we need to rethink this. Like, why are countries our allies? Who benefits us? And if they're not our ally, why are they not our ally? You know? Like, are we just allies because Gramps was allies with them? Well, you know what? There's a new family in that house, and I don't want to be their neighbor, you know?
Yes. Yes. Richard, thanks
People,
so much for coming on the show, man. I know we usually only keep it an hour, but we went an hour and a half here, and I'm glad we did, because you've been a great guest to have, and I know you didn't know what to expect, but I hope it wasn't too bad for you.
No, I'm okay.
Okay, good. We didn't beat you up too good. No, we
I enjoyed this, man. I like talking with you.
Well, and anytime you want to come on, we record every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. We go over just different crazy news stories, some political, some not political. We like to go into a little bit of the unknown as well.
Well,
but
let me tell you something real quick before you
well, go ahead.
My dad was in the Army, and one day when he was at work, they said, "Hey, who wants to go to a rainforest for like 2 weeks and have barbecues every day, and we're going to pay you extra money?" And he's a young guy. He's like, "Yeah, I will. I'll go." And they flew him down to Guyana back in like 1978 or so. And nobody told him what he was doing, and he had to, as soon as they got off the plane, they marched him over to this cargo tent, like this canvas tent, and there was a reel-to-reel projector in there, and they made him watch a movie about how to pick up body parts and put them into body bags. And they said, "The American people don't know this, but there is a cult living down here called the Jim Jones cult, and my dad had to pick up all those bodies." And I could tell you that story.
Well, let's save it for another episode, Richard. That's a great.
Yeah, if you want to.
That's a great one to end on. No shit. Damn.
Yeah.
God damn it! You were holding that ace in the. Well played, sir. Well played. Anyone wants to follow you, your Twitter handle is at Mother Goose.
Mother Goose 1337.
1337 Harbinger, also. And anything you would like to plug? I would like to ask you your favorite podcast to listen to, one that you listen to every week, just so for our listeners, so they can give a listen if you're a podcast guy.
I used to listen to the Dollop a lot before they got too political, and I like to listen to stuff they don't want you to know. That's a good one.
They don't want you to know.
Yeah.
All right, Creighton coming out. Nice cliffhanger at the end. Great show, guys. Thank you, Creighton. Appreciate that.
I hope I didn't make a fool of myself.
Not at all, man. We appreciate you coming on in the blind, not knowing what to expect, and just telling us a little bit of your life story. So, and we appreciate that. And then getting your take on modern events too. You got a great perspective that, that's the thing, it's just, sometimes it's the benefit of this show gives me a weird excuse just to get to know other people and their perspective. So I appreciate you doing that for me, Richard.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's Richard. Once again, follow him on Mother Goose. What was it? 133?
1337.
1337. Also, we record a show every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So if you guys want to come back and watch that, more than welcome to. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And I guess we'll finish it like we normally always do. A little bit of the Kiffness.
Oh
Houston broadcast system.